Okay, good evening and welcome. Today is October 20th, 2025. This is a meeting of the school committee. Call the meeting to order 5:01. This meeting is being both audio and video recorded. I would ask that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. We will next go on to a roll call. Caitlin, if you could start us out.
Caitlin Card. Carrie Jarzewski.
Amy Delenta.
Gregory Thompson.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Heather Brown, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Samantha Velasquez, Secretary.
Jamie, no school committee members on there, right? Okay, thank you. Kid, I would like to move 6.1 up to
5.1.1.
yeah, before 5.1.1. So could I have a motion to do that, please?
A motion to move item number 6.1 up before item 5.1 in today's meeting.
Thank you. Motion made by Amy,
Second.
second by Carrie. Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 3-0. Thank you for that. We have minutes for approval. I would entertain someone to move on that.
Approve the October 6, 2025 executive session meeting minutes.
Motion made by Amy,
Second.
second by Carrie. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That carries 3-0. One more, please.
I move to approve the October 6, 2025 regular session meeting minutes.
Motion made by Amy,
Second.
second by Carrie. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. It carries 3-0 as well. Samantha, thank you for those. We have an opportunity for the committee and subcommittee communications. Caitlin, would you like to start?
So term one about to close on the 29th, so that's next Wednesday. At the high school right now, we have like a college fair that's going to go on this Friday. So it's going to give like all students in all grades at lunch the opportunity to talk to like admissions people and representatives and get like experience with that. And then also at the high school, we've had like the whole month of October, we've had college representatives coming and giving like explaining to students about the schools and like opportunities that they have after college. Much. Great.
Are these all local schools or are there?
Some of them are like they're pretty local, like
Yeah.
mostly sent like in the Northeast.
Have you spoken with them at all?
Not yet, no.
Okay. See if they might sway you into another. No, okay. Okay. Thank you for that, Caitlin. Carrie? Caitlin? Amy?
The only thing I have to share is that I attended the Birchland Park open house several weeks back, both as a committee member, but also as a parent. And everything was extremely organized. The teachers were very well prepared, and I was really impressed at the flow of the evening. So I just wanted to share that.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much for that. Next up, we have opportunity for visitors to address the committee. Seeing none, we will continue on. Moving 6.1 up, we have the superintendent search process discussion with Tracy Novick, MASC Field Director on superintendent search process. Hello, Tracy.
Good evening.
Thank you for zooming in tonight.
Yes, I apologize. I'm at the ASBO International Conference in Fort Worth tonight, so otherwise would be with you in person. Thanks for taking the report remotely. I believe I did send to you the report of the information gathered over the past number of weeks from the community to inform the position description that we plan to post when we post the position later this week. I won't read the whole thing, but to go through the highlights, just to make sure we acknowledge, in particular, there's been a lot of work by other people in the district in putting this together. A lot of scheduling and a lot of scrambling. So I want to thank the superintendent, the principals, everyone else who put that together, obviously Samantha, for all of that. Meetings starting as early as September 2nd with all of the faculty of the high school, and then going through right up through last week, which was the last faculty meeting I went to with Maple Shade. There also was a survey that was put in the field the first week of September that was open through the 15th and had almost 200 responses, as you saw. We also did, in addition, meet with central administration, all of the faculty, the district academic coaches, and thanks to the good work of both the superintendent and the high school principal, and also some faculty, we were at all 3 lunches at the high school to take input from students. So this is a coalition. It takes information from all of those things and puts them together. In terms of highlights, it won't surprise you to know that having the longest serving superintendent in Massachusetts then ends up reflecting in the feedback people get when they're thinking about who's coming next. And so I really do think that there's a lot here that has to do with, some expectation and a lot of interest in terms of that kind of thing. So the 2 things that I wanted to make sure I highlighted early on is that there was real strong feedback across groups that whoever comes in have substantial educational and administrative experience. Principal experience kept being highlighted. Central administration experience came up a number of times as well. And again, across groups, that's seen as being very, very important for the district. Also not surprising, because the district has been under the same leadership for as long as it has, the notion of fresh eyes coming in, and someone from outside the district who has not been in the district in any capacity, was expressed again across groups. There also was a lot of feedback around making sure that you had someone with vision and strengths to carry forward the vision, working across groups in the community, and someone who is, these came up a couple of times, empathetic, compassionate, and kind. I do want to note, by the way, that the current superintendent's listening and open door leadership style was held up a number of times as something that's appreciated and that people hope that they continue to have in the next superintendent. So it's always a good sign when people say, I really like this about what's happening now, and how do we keep it? So that was something that came up a couple of times. In terms of one of the things I ask is the strengths of the district, because one of the things that you're looking for is what do you want to maintain and move forward and get better at? Certainly the strength of the teaching staff was cited. The sense of community in and around the schools, which I don't think will probably surprise any members of the school committee. The district, and especially leadership support for diverse families in the district, was repeatedly noted as a strength, and also was cited particularly strongly as something that needs to continue in the next leadership. That particularly came through in the parents group, and very specifically, I should note, that was one thing that was flagged was support for LGBTQ students, families, staff, and family and parents. Staff and students both appreciated engagement with classroom and extracurricular activities by administration, and wish to continue to see that heading forward. And of course, everyone cites the new high school as being something that everybody is proud of. And by the way, that's not only true in the high school, that's also true in the elementary schools. Like, they're glad that the high school is getting a new building too. So in terms of areas that the district is working on, I really would couch this more as sort of tensions that you see. And I know that sometimes we think of tension as being inherently negative, and I actually really am thinking of it simply in terms of physics, right? That you've got 2 things happening at the same time. So that notion of how do you make sure that students are receiving appropriate special education services while making sure that you're also doing tiered support across the district, and that you're appropriately supporting students in particular ways. I should note, by the way, that I saw a great presentation from the special education director right before I spoke at the last faculty meeting. So it's clear that's something that's actually being discussed already. Difficult budget decisions. I know you went through a tough budget season last year. That always has implications. And then anytime you're doing a curriculum selection and implementation, that sort of question of which voices are at the table and how do you make sure that implementation is faithful while teachers also being able to act as professionals. Those were things that all sort of continued to come up. And I mean, ultimately, the notion of the superintendent being the person who ultimately has to make the call after taking the feedback, right? And taking input from all of the places. There was a lot of conversation around making sure that people listen and make decisions, and then decisions are carried out and defended as needed over the course of that. In terms of, I didn't actually ask sort of what's the next superintendent going to have to deal with, but something that did come up was the question of sort of with the new high school, questions of sort of elementary zones and assignments and how grades are assigned. That was seen in a couple of different perspectives as something that might need to be something that was raised by the next superintendent. Families reflected a need for greater and more consistent communication with them, or simply clarity on where to find information. And then I always promise that I'll bring forward anything that comes up that people might need to know. And students did frequently mention that they wanted more access to bathrooms during lunch. I will note that I was actually there at lunch, so I mean that lunchtime is going to be on their mind, so that's fair. So usually what we do when we post a position is we put qualifications, which are sort of like kind of checkbox things, right? You either have them or you don't. So for qualifications, certainly you have to put licensed or eligible for license to Massachusetts. Master's degree required. How you phrase this then is up to you. In Massachusetts, in order to achieve the level of licensure you're requiring, you would have to have a master's degree. If you choose to put advanced degree preferred, you certainly can. I've put the phrase in there. It's up to you. And then this is fairly standard phrasing with an eye to that feedback you were getting around administrative experience. So a minimum of 10 years in public education, including 5 or more years in school or central administration roles. And then the selection criteria is the place where we really hone in on what is it that your district needs at this time. So what were we told by the community that East Longmeadow Public Schools needs in leadership right now? And so this is coming from what I just shared with you, and is proposed for you to do with as you wish in terms of accepting, editing, and so forth. A strong and experienced leader with a proven track record of managing the complexities of relationships among and between stakeholders. An educational professional with experience in special education, curriculum alignment, and budgetary allocations. A visionary champion for the district. An excellent communicator through various means with all those in the community. An empathetic educator with a heart for children seeking to build a long-term relationship with our district. And so, Mr. Chair, I would ask that you have a conversation at this time about the qualifications and selection criteria. And then I will have a couple of other things I need from you this evening as well.
So are there specifics that you would like us to discuss in terms of
Yep, so those last bullets. So if you have the page open in front of you, it's the final thing that I gave you. If there's anything in terms of the qualifications that you want to change, particularly in terms of that question about degrees and also level of experience, and then really just the selection criteria in terms of the phrasing. And let me just also note for the school committee that when the search committee gets the applications, what they also will get from me will be a rubric that has the qualifications and the selection criteria on it so that they can be evaluating the applications against what you as the school committee have said you're looking for. So that essentially is what you're setting up here as a framework.
Okay,
Jump in.
sure. Does everybody have that page that Tracy's referring to?
And I can share my screen if that would be useful for any of you, but I also know the screen may not be that large for you, so.
My preference is that we keep advanced degree or change the wording to terminal degree preferred. And I also heard you speak about some of the feedback that you'd gotten from different stakeholders about the individual having experience as a school principal. And I know that it's noted there with the 5 years or more, but I would like to prioritize experience as a school principal somewhere in there if that's possible, just because I heard that come through as something that was important to some stakeholders.
Are you saying to require it?
Maybe not require, preferred. Yeah, I mean, qualifications. I'd like to have somebody who's had experience as a principal.
Right.
It would be
What
critically
if you got a special ed coordinator, not a principal? They wouldn't qualified.
I mean,
If you made it a qualification is my question.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe just thinking about that language, and I'm only saying that because it clearly came forth and
Okay.
it came to the top of priorities for the public.
Yep.
So, and I noticed it just wasn't quite worded like that.
No, and I would say, I mean, you can talk about things being preferred. That's certainly fine. I would agree that you maybe don't want to put it in as a requirement per se, because certainly there are people who end up in central administration without having gone through a principalship first. And you could certainly have, 5 or 7 years in central administration without that. But you're right, that definitely did come up. So you might consider words like preferred or that kind of thing.
I would be totally fine with that. And I also like the idea of a terminal degree preferred, not required, but up where it says master's degree required. terminal degree preferred.
That implies a doctorate.
Yes.
Yeah. Why not just say the doctorate?
Because they might not have a specific, it could be a PhD,
Yeah.
an EDD, it could be something else, but
I was curious about something related to like use of data, data analysis.
Experience with it?
You could potentially add that to maybe one of the bullet points in terms of perhaps an educational professional, maybe in the one that has an educational professional with experience in, add it to the list, might be a place for it to go.
That makes sense, Carrie. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good, Tracy.
Okay. And what I would do is I would just add and data analysis after budgetary allocations.
Yep.
data analysis or database decision making
Yeah.
matter, maybe not.
I mean, in terms of questions they would ask too, like I can think of a question like, give us an example of a time where you've used data to make an informed decision, you know? So however you want to.
Yeah, I
Data
think,
informed decision making?
Yeah, I mean, we've been like last meeting, we looked at a lot of the assessments, so
Sure.
this person would need to.
We can certainly do that.
Mhm.
And you're right. I appreciate what you're flagging there, Carrie, because something that often also happens is that they may use this for both the search committee and then also you, of course, as the school committee may decide that some of these are what you're going to base your questions on in the interview.
Anything else on the list?
is there any way to add some language in the selection criteria about individuals who have potentially had experience with building? Since this is going to be such a critical component for,
When they start.
what's that?
We'll be moved in. Well, we won't be moved, you're right.
Yeah, but there's going to be so many
Yeah.
moving parts, and so obviously this is kind of like, finding a unicorn or something, but
Yeah.
maybe somebody that's had experience, shifting district lines and schools moving, or maybe even opening a new school, just as some kind of criteria that maybe somebody's out there that has had.
What I was gonna say, make a note for it to be a question,
Yeah.
Sure.
like a time
I
where
can certainly do that.
because there will be issues, the adjustments that may have to be made. So you could phrase the question in that way where.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I'll pass that on to the when I brainstorm topic questions with the search committee, I can pass that along.
Great. Anybody else have comments? Pam, Gordon, principals, Don? Caitlin,
Sounds good to me.
William, looking all right?
Looking good.
Any other suggestions, Tracy, for the?
No, and also I should note I did receive the information just now. Sorry, from the junk mail will get you every time. From the superintendent. So we'll be compiling the rest of the brochure. It has all of that information that you're sending to us over the next couple of days and putting it together. So the next thing the next tricky bit that I do need though from you, Mr. Chair, this evening is we are required under Massachusetts law now to post a salary range.
Okay.
So you are aware certainly of what you're paying your current superintendent, but you also have a superintendent who is of long standing. I did look at a couple of adjoining districts, although MASS is still gathering their information. That's who we actually get our information from every year. So I have a couple of those, although there isn't a huge range. What I've got is Ludlow and Longmeadow. So that is for you to discuss, and we do have to put actual numbers on this in order to comply with state law in the posting, but this is something that's entirely under your purview.
You have a recommended range?
I mean, so the two that I have is that Ludlow is at 180 and Longmeadow is at 187. So first of all, I never want to see a school district that's not radically different in size, to be clear. So certainly no one's going to talk about you in Springfield, right? But I don't want to see you too far out of line with your peers, mostly just because that will catch attention. But you can certainly go a bit lower than Ludlow, and then the top range is obviously up to you.
I also did a little research too for you.
Yes, please.
I should have had it with
No, that's great.
thinking that was gonna, I guess it's all happening.
These are member districts or?
Yeah, I tried to get as many surrounding districts as I could, in the
Thank you, Pam.
last. You're welcome. Well, sometimes one business manager to another, it's
I
easier.
was gonna say, I didn't send it out over Masbo, and I appreciate you doing that.
And then, to find out what other kind of items are in contracts, so I'm so sorry, I'm a little slow at this. Here, where I'm gonna find it.
Ludlow superintendent's been there. Superintendent.
It's at least his third year there. He was a superintendent in the eastern end of the state before coming here.
For multiple years.
Not for multiple years, but for a few years.
The experience level is higher.
Yeah, Marty probably has 8, 9.
He was in Long Meadow,
Just in Long
but
Meadow.
he also was a superintendent in Hampton Wilbraham.
12, 13. Yeah.
He's got me by one,
Does he really?
Yeah.
Oh,
just not in the same district.
yep.
I'll make it small.
So he's got 17 years at the end of this year.
Okay.
Okay. Easier if I just gave you my computer?
You asking me?
Savvy as I am. Well, I mean, so the LPVEC districts.
Yeah.
What I found out is that Agawam, currently, in this current year, is at 183,964. No, I'm so sorry. That was actually last year, and what the business manager told me is that that's still to be determined this year, so I don't know if they're still somehow negotiating something. But it was 183. She does get longevity, mileage, phone, little early retirement incentive. We know where East Long Meadow is, the 184,319. Hampton Wilbraham, I'm sorry, I did not get their information. Long Meadow is at 192,526. Ludlow, 186,997. Southwick, 181,598. And West Springfield, 187,460.
Pretty consistent.
Pretty consistent. Yeah, and I have a few others around. East Hampton, 175, Hadley, 173, Granby, 135, Hampshire Regional, 180, Lennox, 184. Let's
Did you
see.
say there was 135 in there?
Yeah, that must be someone.
What was that?
So it could even
It
be.
was,
Granby.
Oh, Granby.
Granby.
Yep, they're low.
also small.
To Munson, 165, Palmer, 168, South Hadley, 179. So you can see the nice.
Yeah.
Westfield, 186. That's what I got for you.
Tracy, how big is the range totally? Because if we're looking at I see 165 to 192, that's 28, 27.
Yeah, that would be a little farther than I think I would probably go. We usually, I don't know that I'd go much farther than say 20,000.
20.
Most of the ones I'm seeing are more like 15.
So 175 to 195, is that
What I was thinking.
sound like
Mhm.
reasonable target?
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well, but I don't know if at this point in time, Tracy, is this where they would need to discuss any of those other contractual items that might be, or is that later during?
Not yet. That they can do once they found the person. No, I appreciate you already having that at hand, because certainly we'll need that once they voted acceptance of a person. Yep. Okay, so I'll put 175 to 195. So it would be useful, Mr. Chair, if you would make a motion to sort of vote all of that. So the salary range and the qualifications and the selection criteria.
Somebody want to take a shot at that?
You can say as amended if you'd like.
I make a motion to approve the qualifications, selection criteria, and salary range as amended.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Motion made by Amy,
Second.
second by Carrie. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0. Okay, we're good on that.
We're good on that. So then the only question I have for you, Mr. Chair, is where we're at with the search committee.
Yes, so we have, 2 more seats that we, are looking to fill.
4, did you say?
2 more.
2 more. Okay, sorry. Yep.
The other 13, we did go to 15. I know. I know. You're the best.
This is what happens when you put things on the agenda and not there.
I know. And so the committee was wondering if you would have suggestions on, these would be just, community members. They could be parents. It's really wide open as to the last 2 members.
So can you tell me, even if you don't give me names, but can you tell me what the seats are so far? That might give me a better idea. I know we've got school committee members.
We're gonna have 2 school committee members, 2
Yep.
two administrators. We are gonna have the executive secretary for the school committee. We have 2 community members already, 2 teachers, 1 paraprofessional, a student. Anybody else on it?
You have at least one parent.
Para.
I said
No.
para.
The,
Did you-
the town-
Tom Christensen, town manager.
Oh, okay. He can make the
Agreed.
meetings?
Yeah, I gave him the dates. I
Okay.
saw him put them in his phone.
Okay, so 3, 8.
Yeah, you're missing a
Still
parent.
short? I
And,
think I'm missing.
Parent.
One parent, right?
There's
we don't-
1 parent so far?
One parent. That's not 13. That's not 13 right now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That's your 13. Okay. If you have 2 more seats, I would say 2 more parents.
Yeah. Okay.
So the parent that you have, what school is the parent at? Or the students at, or is it more than one school?
Maple Shade?
Elementary.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, I would say you probably want at least 1 secondary parent. And then now obviously parents often have more than 1 child, right? So like making provision for that.
Yeah.
But I would say, given sort of the array of schools, buildings that you have, and I mean, even some of the opinions I saw within them, I guess I would say you want 2 more parents, and that you'd be looking for some spread in terms of the buildings covered. You might also, does anyone know offhand if we have, oh, no, we actually have, it's the director of special education is on, right? I was going to say, with the amount that just special education came up, I would say special education might not be a bad thing also to say.
Yep.
A parent who has somebody who actually has somebody on IEP might not be bad either, but you can make that sort of like we'd love it, but not required, I guess I would say.
Okay.
Okay. So would you like me to then, this is under your purview, so
Yep.
just to be clear, would you like me to what I've done in the past is I put together just a little Google form that is, name, contact information, schools your kids are in. Tell me a little bit about why you want to be part of this. Do you have a child have you had any experience with special education in the district? And had it open for like a week or so. And then I just try to pick to make sure we get diversification, or I can bring them back to you and you can pick, or we can do this however you like.
Does that take away from community, that makes it so it's just parent,
Right.
not community
Correct.
members? Okay, would community members that have had children go through the school district, or, I mean, I just don't want to take away. I love the idea of adding a parent, but I
Yep.
think we kind of maybe already communicated at the last meeting that we're going to be opening it up to at least one other spot for a community member.
Okay.
I don't know if,
Have we received any other people? Has anybody else reached out?
I think we've had an interested individual. Yes, at least one community member
Yeah.
who's also, as you know, the children's librarian.
Okay. So-
Reach out.
Tracy, could we do that then? Could we
Sure.
specify 1 parent?
1 parent and one open, or one, are we saying you can't have kids in the district?
How does the committee feel?
I mean, you could say 2 seats, at least one is being held by a parent.
Yes.
That works.
I like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Carrie likes it too.
Mhm.
And then, would that be a random selection, or how would you do that?
So I mean, what I usually have, since you know that you have a Maple Shade parent,
Yep.
then I mean, what I would, this is, it's up to you. I can certainly throw all the names into the electronic equivalent of a hat and pull two.
Yep.
If you want, I can also try to do like we know we have somebody who's having experience at Maple Shade. Let's make sure that we have a parent who has experience in another school or other schools.
Okay.
And then, you know, to what degree do you want to weigh something like special education, that kind of thing. I can do it any way you like. And I mean, I can also do for one seat, I can do, we're looking for another parent. And for the other seat, I can do, here are the names that are left. Let's do that at random. That's
Okay.
possible too.
Okay. How are folks about that? No?
I do think getting representation from a different school is important.
Yep.
So if not another parent
definitely.
from Maple Shade.
Yep.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I definitely agree there.
Yep. And then what about the other member? No nothing specific on the qualifications?
No, as long as a member of the community, I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
Community member,
Yeah,
be nice.
that's fine.
Okay. Does that make sense, Tracy?
It does. And obviously my first question will be, here are the following dates. Please make sure that you can make them.
Yep.
Before you fill out the rest of this form.
Perfect.
And I can do that. And if whoever it is that has the full list of who it is
Yep.
can get that to me at some point, along with at least their email addresses, that would be super useful because I will
Okay.
need that.
Excellent. We will do that. And will you have for the next meeting, that process complete, do you think? In 2 weeks?
So, right. So, okay. So we're posting this week. When you meet next, where's that? You meet next on November. So
November 3rd.
yeah, so I'm gonna warn you that I probably won't. Let's see. Yeah, I'm actually in interviews in another district the night of the 3rd.
Yep.
I mean, I can certainly, once I have those two other names, I can certainly share them with you, and you can certainly share them with the rest of the
That would
the
be great.
committee.
Yep.
And
great.
then, but I wouldn't expect the search to be back on your agenda, since now it goes back into the search committee, right? But
Yeah,
I
so
wouldn't
are
expect
we-
you to need the search on your agenda again until they're actually announcing the finalist on the 15th of December.
Okay. Yeah. Except for naming those last two members.
So that's my question. If you actually have the authority to essentially delegate that you've said how you want them selected, and I'm selecting them
Yep.
that way, and I'll send them to you.
Which we would like to happen, but I think we would formally recognize that as a committee, the final, as we have everyone else. We would make
Okay.
them an official member, and we can do that in 2 weeks. You don't have to be here. You can just give us the names.
Okay.
And then we'll be done. I promise.
Yep. No, that's good. And then just to reiterate the dates for you all, the search committee then will be meeting on the 17th for training. They do the determination of the semifinalists on the 24th, and then the interviews are the week of December 8th.
Perfect. And
Good to say those dates again.
we still need to pick school committee members. Should we wait for Antonella?
I think so, but
Is that the will of the
That's right.
committee?
That's fine.
Do we want to name, Tom Christensen did say he could do it. Do we want to name him today?
yeah, we said,
Okay.
yeah, we said the town manager.
Okay. So can I have a motion to name the town manager to the screening committee?
Make a motion to appoint Tom Christensen, town manager, to the screening committee.
Motion made by Amy,
Second.
second by William. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, so Tracy, then we just have the 4 left. We have 2 school committee members that we still have to appoint. We have the other 2, and you're going to help us with that. And you'll get back to us
The student.
before,
We'll advertise for the student
okay.
and get that, and we'll have it
Mr.
by
Page
next
can bring
meeting.
that back to us. Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like you'll do that all at your next meeting then.
How they getting in?
Towns, for example, community members will be hearing how.
Samantha had an amazing idea. At least I assume it was Samantha's idea. She was suggesting that you advertise in the reminder.
Oh, we had talked about that in the.
Okay. Yeah, that works. Yep, that's great.
You only will get the reminder if you're doing it in 2 weeks.
What's
We would have
today?
to have
Monday.
it there
Oh,
Friday for
Yeah.
next
Thursday.
Thursday.
It's not gonna work then.
Town website,
There's a link, if we're just doing like a link, can't we just get? the link and
LCAP?
say-
like a
We
QR.
certainly can do it. We can, I can send an electronic link to the district and the chair as soon as tomorrow. And I mean, usually I would say, yes, put it on the town website, put it on the school website, put it on everybody's social media for sure.
On social media.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
town social
we'll do that.
media.
Okay, that's a plan.
Okay, fair,
Library.
great.
We'll send
So
it
then I'll
to,
expect the last
Thanks.
5 names, I guess, from you after your third meeting.
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
and then we'll be good.
Okay,
Anything else, Tracy? Anything for us?
that's everything.
Anything else for Tracy from the committee?
Thank you, Tracy.
You're in Texas,
Thank
you
you.
said?
I am in Texas. I'm in Fort Worth this week.
Enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for zooming in. Appreciate your time tonight.
You're welcome. Take care.
Talk soon. Yep, take care.
I love Zoom.
Okay, that was productive. Thank you all on that. Go back in order now to 5.1.1, elementary school SMART goals presentation.
we have our elementary administrators here this evening, and as Ms. Jarzabski referenced earlier, we provided the district fall status report, which both had current status using iReady assessments and surveys and so forth, and as well as the state accountability from last spring. Each school, elementary school this evening, will be doing the same thing for you. So without further ado, may I call up Meadowbrook?
Please.
Okay.
I'm going to,
Good saying that, Renee. Sure, you.
because Mrs.
Biden is going to be doing the
doesn't
presentation.
have any voice. All right. Good evening. So we will start reducing chronic absenteeism. Continues to be a focus both at the state and district level. And so that's the first part of our goal under supporting the whole child. We made some significant gains over the past 4 years, reducing the chronic absenteeism rate from 27.4 in 21 and 22 to 18.4 in 22 and 23 to 6% last year. Our hope this year is to see that rate continue to fall to 5%. Our pre-pandemic rate was about 5.3%. Some challenges that we continue to face in our school is family vacations and things like hockey tournaments. We just had one last Friday, so we saw a lot of absences and early dismissals. We also have some students in our building with chronic health issues. So there are some things that are out of our control, some things we are continuing to do that have worked for us in the past. We have the attendance signs posted along the driveway, the main driveway. So when parents are coming in car line or picking up their child, they'll see those signs. We proactively send a letter home to all families in the beginning of the year that points out the LPS attendance policy. And then we start running our attendance reports and we'll get our letters out to students who have 5 or more absences. We're starting that soon. And also we refer students to our district care coordinator. We have a shared Google Doc with her to reach out to families so we can communicate and meet and support students that way. Next slide, please. Okay, so where do we stand so far? As of October 15th, we have a 9.5 chronic absenteeism rate as compared to 7% last year and 96.7% attendance rate. Last year was 96.3%. We think it's a result. We had a student out with a surgical procedure and another student who was injured that missed a lot of school. So I'm thinking that makes me think that's probably some of the reason. The next slide. At Meadowbrook, our goal is to support the whole child by creating a safe, joyful, and inclusive environment where students feel valued and ready to learn. Last year, we piloted DESA, the Devereaux Strength Student Assessment. This tool was used as a universal screener 3 times a year. And we gauge students' social emotional behaviors. Due to the age of our students, this is conducted as a teacher perception survey. So the teachers are rating their students based on the different, thank you, competencies. So from this survey, they can score on typical, strength, or the need category. And then for any student identified as needing more support, the teacher will give a more in-depth assessment called the DESA 2.0. And that can allow us to pinpoint specific areas for growth and how we're going to support them. All students receive Tier 1 support through classroom practices and second step social skills lessons with our counselors. In addition, the DESA 2.0 results guide us in identifying which students could benefit from additional social emotional support. For those with a higher level of need, we provide tier support through small group lessons, counseling, and referrals to our River Valley Counseling. The next slide, please. Thank you. So we did feel that this approach was successful last year and effective based on the improvement noted in our data from fall to spring. We're continuing with the same action steps this year, and you can see in the graph, we shifted 9% of our students up to the strength category, which is about 479 students. Sorry, 9% of 479 is 43 students. Overall, at the spring administration, these percentages break down to about 115 students in the strength category, 335 students in our typical category, and about 28 students in the need category. You can go. We just finished our fall iteration of the DESA, and this graph shows you what the results were like just before the window ended. At the time, the completion rate was about 86%. We had 5% of students in the need category, 79% in typical, and 16% in strength, which is pretty comparable to last fall at this time. Go to the next slide, please. For the DESA 2.0, this is focusing on the 5% of students who are identified as in need. It breaks down each skill even further across 6 key social emotional competencies like self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills. So it's also a guide for us how to move forward. It tells us which skills that we need to focus on, and it helps us prioritize our SEL instruction. We'll stay on that slide for a minute. Sorry. I know I just said
How is the composite score higher on the needs? So that's a 17, but no other needs is that high. Composite mean a average of all of them?
Yeah.
Or am I reading that wrong?
No, it does look like that.
It's okay. It's
I'll have to
answer. Yes.
DESA.
Are you giving this at every grade?
Oh, what's the math?
Sorry, I missed that. So
Kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, 3 times a year.
then you can track to see if a student is low, if they are making progress year
Yes.
over year.
Mhm.
And how is that information then from second to third communicated out to Mountain View or Maple Shade, depending on if there's students that are still needing support or?
So we would share their DESA scores when we meet for the transition meetings too. Wait. Hopefully, yes. Open Architect is also a platform that all the schools will have access to
Okay.
and shows their iReady scores. You can look up their DESA scores. But also, if they have the 2.0 or if they have any additional information, that'll get passed along with the student when our counselors meet.
Okay.
And then it's picked up in terms of strategy. When
They can read what
Yeah.
skills they've been getting, what interventions they've been getting through the counselors and things like that.
For a long time, we were using the Panorama dashboard, and that compiled similar to what Ms. Lydon saying. not only the assessments, but also the survey data. It also compiled attendance data, compiled historical grade information. All of that is shifting now to Open Architects, and they've given us a pretty good starting dashboard, and we're working out some bugs right now so that say attendance is a little bit more accurate on an everyday basis. And that's being fed by a variety of things, but most of the information is coming from PowerSchool on a nightly basis.
Do you have any other questions? Some other action steps in this area. Our special ed teachers started using the new curriculum called Everyday Speech. It's an evidence-based program that supports consistent, targeted instruction aligned with student needs. So we're hoping that'll help strengthen social skills with our students on IEPs. And this year, we've working to create more consistency in how behavior expectations are taught and reinforced in common areas like the cafeteria, at recess, on the bus. These are times where structure matters, so we want the language and expectations to be consistent.
How are you getting those staff members then?
So we made templates and we shared with all the staff so they could pre-teach and reinforce the same expectations in a consistent way. We provided direct instruction in modeling to students for the first 2 weeks in the cafeteria. And on the second day, a student raised his hand and he's like, "You already told us this yesterday." So I was like, "Oh, you're going to be in for it for the next 2 weeks of repetition." And then we have visuals and written cues in the building. So by the bus lines, there's big posters with pictures and simple language of our expectations for what the bus looks like, what the cafeteria looks like. We had that posted in the cafeteria for expectations. And then eventually, we're going to develop some more expectations for hallways, bathrooms, car line, and starting to use that language. So it's nice to see, we see people, like even our lunch and noon attendant monitors are walking children over to the posters and asking about the expectations. So next slide. Okay, kindergarten math. We are using the USNS, Universal Screening for Number Sense, as an early math screener in kindergarten. It helps us assess how well our youngest learners are developing foundational number concepts like counting, comparing numbers, subsidizing, and number combinations. These early number sense skills are critical indicators, pre-indicators of later math success, and it helps us identify students who need additional support. We like to do this early so we can provide targeted interventions before those gaps widen. Last year, 71% of our kindergartners scored proficient. For this school year, we've set a goal for 75% proficiency, and we're going to use that data to guide our small group instruction and inform classroom practices to meet that goal.
All the students don't necessarily attend preschool, correct?
Correct.
We know on about approximate percentage of students that do not attend preschool.
60 to 70.
Do attend preschool. Really?
Attend our preschool.
No, I mean any.
No, any preschool.
Because I imagine this is very rudimentary, basic number recognition, counting. I mean, they're just starting as kindergartens, right? And so I'm just wondering the correlation between preschool and the 70% that have proficiency. That's probably where they got it, right?
I know. I could take a guess based on like when we get the student profiles from different preschools and things like that.
Yeah.
Say higher percentage.
More than 70% go to preschool? I would say so too. I would think.
So. I would guess.
And that would be a guess for me.
That would be
okay. Thank you.
In grades 1 and 2, we continue to use iReady Math Diagnostic to assess student progress and guide our math instruction. Oh, sorry. This allows us to monitor typical growth, so what's expected in a school year, and stretch growth, which reflects more accelerated progress or beyond grade level proficiency. In 2024 and 25, 59% of students met their typical growth target and 33% met their stretch growth target. So for the 25-26 school year, our goals are 65% of students meeting typical growth and 35% of students meeting stretch growth.
I may have asked this before. Is the 33% included in the 59%?
You
It
did.
must be, right? I did ask it.
Yeah, I remember
I
talking.
forget the answer.
I don't know if you asked us, but I remember talking about it.
If they've met their if they've met their stretch growth, they've met their typical growth.
Yes.
So
That answer.
included in the 59%.
Mhm.
That would make sense.
So only 26% made stretch. Only. I mean, typical.
No, you don't subtract. We've got,
Well, that's what I'm asking. then.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you do add it to it. So 92% either met stretch or typical. No, that's not right either, though. It's got to be in the 59.
I mean, they're two different measures. So the typical growth is.
Yeah, but everybody who met stretch met typical. I'm just wondering if the
Goal.
59 includes those or not.
I see, but it's a different goal. You
Yep.
can you can't meet your stretch without meeting your typical, but it's still a higher goal.
So those 33 are in the 59. They must be.
Again, with the math.
Because 92% didn't reach
Yeah,
either.
I think.
Yeah,
you're correct
okay.
on that.
Yeah, okay.
Find out.
Let's remember that.
Put it on the list.
Next year.
We got it next year.
Got an answer.
For you. Okay. So we use this data to monitor student progress and differentiate instruction, group students strategically, and ensure that interventions are being implemented timely and they are targeted. This helps us support all of learners, whether they need to catch up, stay on track, or be challenged further.
How does that 65% of students in 1 and 2 will reach typical growth compare to other districts in the state that are using the iReady assessment?
Coming.
Oh, all right.
Good question. You can go to the next slide, please. Okay. The first graph shows our growth from last fall to last spring. At the beginning of the year, 15% of students were performing at or above grade level. By the end of the year, the number grew to 66%, which was an encouraging jump. We also saw a reduction in the number of students who were 2 or more grade levels from behind, from 14% in the fall to 2% or 7 students in the spring. So this was telling us that our supports and instructional strategies were working. When we compare this fall's data to last fall, things look fairly comparable. We're seeing similar starting points in terms of students 1 grade level below and needing more intensive support. You can go to the next slide. This is where we're talking about it. Yeah. So this slide shows how our 1st and 2nd grade math placements this fall compared to state and national benchmarks. It's hard to read on the graph. In grade 1, we're performing right in line with both the state and national averages. And in grade 2, we're doing better than both with fewer students 2 or more grade levels behind, 15% as compared to 32 and 37% at the state and national level. So we thought that was worth highlighting, but we have some improvements to practice.
So if
after.
15% aren't on grade level, isn't the grade level measure wrong?
Me jumping in again, sorry, I'll try my best.
Yep.
So remember at the beginning of the year, yellow means they're ready for the material. So at the beginning of the year, you can count those yellow kids as being ready to go, right? And then at the end of the year, they're still in yellow, yes.
I like how it's labeled. Yeah.
But we also can compare ourselves to like districts too,
Yes.
which is not right. I mean,
Yeah.
Still. District information. Already.
iReady.
Like MCAS, but
And the desk.
our grade level.
And yeah, because I'm guessing that skews it a little. Yeah.
It would be nice to.
You can get, on the DESI website, it would be challenging for Meadowbrook because those grade levels don't get the MCAS assessment, but the DART tool
Yeah.
does allow you for grades 3 through 10 to compare assessment data against schools that DESI considers similar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is fall placement, so this is not the end of the year.
Correct, fall placement, yes. Okay, but
Yeah.
still, do you have more questions?
No.
Still want some improvements for practice, for math growth. So to accelerate intervention at the start of the school year, the math launched boost groups, 5 weeks boost groups based on the end of year data. So there's 37 students who participated, 62% reached proficiency on the fall assessment. Oh, but
I jumped ahead to.
same slide. Okay, sorry. And they all showed growth. Based on these results, the team recommends continuing boost groups for next year. It was that time in the beginning of the year while we're collecting new information that we said we can do more with that time. So the tutors and interventionists put together the boost groups. This year, we're continuing to refine how we structure collaborative planning time and data meetings. We're going to be looking at grade level trends with each team and then meeting individually with teachers to dig deeper into their individual classroom data so we can better tailor their instruction to student needs. We've built in this year a dedicated small group instructional block into our master schedule. So teachers have that protected time to deliver the differentiated targeted support. During individual planning meeting with coaches, teachers will now be planning specifically for how to use that small group time most effectively using their data. Which instructional materials are going to use, all will go into that as well. So these shifts in practice will help us ensure that we're using that time effectively and resources in a way that directly supports student growth. Questions? Okay, go next one, please. Thank you. Okay, as a reminder, we're using the DIBELS, the Dynamic Indicator of Basic Early Literacy Skills, to monitor early literacy development in grades K through 2. This is in place of iReady. We administer it 3 times a year with opportunities to progress monitor in between assessments. DIBELS measures phonemic awareness, decoding, and fluency, which are skills foundational to future reading success. Our current goals and status, 25-26 goal is 75% of K-2 students will be at or above grade level, and we are using the composite score this year. We didn't have a full composite last year since we didn't administer all the subtests, with it being the first year using DIBELS. So we're basing this goal off of the 72% proficiency rate at our predominant measure baseline. So our current performance is 0.1%, which is not where we want to be. And this means that nearly 40% of our students are below benchmark and may need strategic or intensive support, which we recognize as a significant group, and we need to get some early intervention in place. So it's a bit of a reality check and a roadmap to where we're going to go next. So some improvements for literacy growth, taking the same approach in math, using collaborative planning and data meetings to identify trends and tailor instruction. We've added the small group block to the schedule, and teachers are working with coaches to plan targeted, high-quality instruction. Also, very exciting for us is we're implementing the DESE Amplify one-to-one tutoring program this year. So this is for grade 1 students. It's a high-impact one-to-one tutoring 3 times a week. Students who are eligible are students with composite scores in the red or the yellow. Online tutoring we have right now, we're offering to 31 first graders, and this frees up our Meadowbrook tutors to work with 30 plus second graders at this point.
How's that going?
Good.
Is it?
Yes, I was nervous about it.
I'm nervous about
I
it.
have some students that you're like, nope, they might not fit that. They might not have the ability to sit to a screen, but I've seen it in action. And it's really, it's good. I have students with their headphones. Some are in the classroom, and some are, if we have a significant group in a classroom, then we bring them to an empty classroom with our reading support too. So they're interacting with their tutors. You can hear them laughing and making sounds and answering questions and getting feedback. right now we're noticing that we've had once, what's the program that was down last week? Clever was down last week, so we weren't able to access, and today with the whole global fun thing, it was also down and the students were disappointed. They were ready to go. So we need help signing on. We had to figure out what students were taking from where and what it looked like logistically. But now getting on there and watching it in progress, it's pretty cool.
Do they have the same tutor every time?
Yes.
And are there any concerns about the impacts on education going further in terms of losing local influence on education? I know that's a big one.
Wait, like that 30? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question.
So
Yeah, think about it.
mindful of it as we go. I just don't want us to all of a sudden have all our kids with headphones on half the day. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's what's happening.
And some kids it's not going to work for.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question that kind of feedbacks off of that? Again, another kind of bigger question, but I'm kind of wondering if there's any focus right now, or if we have the ability to shift a little bit. And going off your point before about preschool, these are the type of skills that are like pre-reading skills that happen in preschool, or in our case, they're not happening, or even before that. So I wonder, you know what I'm saying? Before you even have a chance to see them, you noted that only 30% of your kindergartners have been with you in preschool. And it also matters the preschool, or maybe not, that our kiddos are coming from. Are they high quality, et cetera, et cetera? Are they getting these pre-reading skills at home or anywhere else? And so as a community in East Long Meadow, are we able to do more? Whether it be partnering with our libraries more or doing something, because the Amplify, that's great, that's wonderful. That's reacting to a major problem. I mean, this number is concerning. Obviously, you're both concerned about that number. But that's you're getting students that are already behind. And maybe this is still kind of from, some impact from the pandemic or who knows. But obviously our students are coming to kindergarten unprepared with basic early reading skills.
And I can't speak what the outside programs are doing, but we have adopted a new curriculum in our preschool.
So we adopted 3 tiers. So we made a whole big schedule change for our preschools, and they're following the program with fidelity this year to see
Great, yeah,
how that can
yeah,
affect.
which is great. And that's 30%.
That's 30%.
And that's wonderful
Yeah,
that you're doing that, but I'm almost wondering on a more like.
And do you understand how we're doing with our 30% in terms of where they might fit into this? Track that?
We don't.
That would be really hard to track.
That our student
Right. Yep. That makes sense.
This,
I just wonder if we can do more as town to support the students before they even, necessarily.
Yeah, and I think you're going to get into different philosophies about what preschool should look like at this age too, right?
Absolutely.
No.
But just early learning doesn't even have to be at preschool. Maybe it's parent outreach, better parent outreach to, 2 and 3 year old. Early literacy skills happen in
Making sure they
in
have.
infancy. They can, exactly.
Yeah.
And do we have good data about what, the children in town? I don't know.
Not before they come to us.
Right.
Yeah.
And so is there a way to connect some more dots there? Because I don't think this is a reflection of how Meadowbrook is doing an incredible job at receiving students that are not prepared to learn how to read. They don't have the skills. We're seeing the numbers here. They're not ready to learn how to read when they get them. So just a bigger question, maybe.
Sure.
it's a challenge to communicate to the group before they get to us, because we don't have all that contact information.
Community outreach. Or
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly put something out, both on town social media and through our different avenues. We do work closely with the library on, their summer reading program and their programming that goes on throughout the year, and we share that out. But it's an interesting idea. How do you get to the preschool age students?
Right. Like, do we need to reach them sooner? I think we do. Somehow, maybe.
You know, we could certainly reach out to folks that we have contact with in terms of early intervention. But that's generally
It's already picked
looking
up
at
by then,
stu-
like,
correct students that
We have
are
to get to the
heading towards
preschools
IEPs. Yeah.
that some of those students are going to.
Mhm.
No.
For context, so this isn't only the second year we've used this assessment? Did I hear that?
Dibbles last year.
So what was our last year's number? Did it look like this? Did I miss that? Was it also?
We didn't have a composite, right? Sorry.
End of the year only,
At the end of the year.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's likely that previous students, like, we haven't used this assessment before, like, this might not be an anomaly in our pattern in terms of how students have been coming to you for the last 5 years or something like that too, right? And not to discount that we're making the response, but. Mhm. Right.
Our last goal at Meadowbrook, we're continuing to focus on celebrating the diversity of our community and creating a school culture where every student, staff member, and family feels seen, valued, like they truly belong. This year, we are very excited to partner with Chandria, our coordinator of METCO, Family Engagement and Student Belonging, to help us strengthen inclusive practices across the school. One of our key focus areas is improving the onboarding process for incoming kindergarten students in the METCO program. We would typically receive the names a little bit later. So we're hoping to encourage earlier enrollment so families can attend spring information nights, screenings, and get connected earlier in the process. This will help create a smoother transition for both students and families as they join the Meadowbrook school community. We're also looking for ways to increase Chandria's presence at school events. She was at our open house, bless you, family nights and conferences. She loves coming into the lunchroom. She's in the cafeteria as much as she can. She likes that. So METCO families feel even more connected and supported from the start. We, to continue supporting students throughout the year, we hope to establish regular touch points between Chandria and the students in the METCO program, whether it's through individual check-ins or some affinity groups, with a focus on academic and social emotional needs. We are also carrying forward our monthly character assemblies, which have been a great way to build positive school culture. This year, we invited Chandria to lead one of those assemblies with a focus on diversity, inclusion, and belonging to further deepen our school-wide conversations around these values. So we're excited to get those all rolled out. Does anyone have any questions?
Any other questions from the group? I think we're great. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
all your
Thank you.
information. Caitlin, how you doing? Homework? You got a lot of work to do? You gotta go? Okay, you all right? Okay.
I can leave it up actually, since it's both 2, 3 through 5 schools. I was gonna go alphabetical, but we can, whoever would like to go.
Went first.
Did I?
Okay, I figured there might be an opinion out there.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so let me walk you through how Maple Shade has been doing since the year began. Okay, so up first, in terms of supporting the whole child, we'll be looking for an attendance rate of 95% or higher. We're going to stay on top of our chronic absenteeism. I'll get into these action steps in a second. And in terms of students self-reporting how they are feeling as being a part of Maple Shade Elementary School community member, we want our self-reported percentages from their social emotional surveys to be 90% or higher. And we'll get into some of that data in a little bit. So this is where we are right now. We're currently at a 96.8% attendance rate, which is strong. It's higher than our goal right now. So we're going to hope to maintain this consistency as we continue to move into the school year. We have a current chronic absenteeism rate of 5.7%. And just a reminder, at the beginning of every month, the first couple days of each month, I go into our dashboard system. I used to utilize the Panorama system, but we no longer use that. So now I'm utilizing Open Architects. I look at the data there. It reveals to me which students have been absent the most. I then reach out to the parents of these students in order to understand exactly what the story is for the absences. I then keep a running log so that I know what's occurring with the students, whether it is an issue, whether it is an ongoing illness. And then I communicate with the teachers of the students and then just try to get help with whatever that help may be. Students whose absences continue to accrue without any seeming change from a parental standpoint. Partner with our care outreach coordinator that Meadowbrook had talked about. And just continue that conversation. We've been successful with that. And thankfully, Maple Shade is a small enough school where I'm able to communicate regularly with parents, and I have a pretty good relationship with the parents. So that I feel pretty good about where we are in terms of attendance and how we get our kids to school.
Are more kids riding bikes these days? Am I noticing that?
A whole crew, there's a gang, you could say, of bike riders that descend upon the school every morning. It's really neat to see.
Great. I've seen it.
So in terms of how that plays out, this is what Desi recognized for this year based on attendance for last year. And as you can see with each one of the different demographics that make up our school, our students either met or exceeded their attendance targets. And then we have 3 slides. You'll see more later on towards the end of the presentation regarding some belonging questions that we had asked students for the beginning of the year. Survey results. So 90% of our students feel welcome in the school. 91.8% of our students feel safe at the school. 93.6% of our students have a friend that they can count on, which I think is great. I'm an idealist. I want those as close to 100% as possible. So we're going to continue to build relationships with our students, foster a sense of inclusivity for our students, allow our students to feel seen within the building, give them opportunities to be able to express themselves within the buildings in the hope that the 90% and the 91.8% climb higher to 100%.
I'm assuming that you're drilling into that to see the 10% that don't feel welcome, and there's some checking in with those students or
yes.
Friends.
Yeah. So I'm going to be meeting with both our school adjustment counselor and our guidance counselor for one meeting where we're going to be analyzing this data in order to tailor it to our social emotional learning classrooms based on what students are seeing by grade level. In our student support meeting, that also includes our head teachers and our building facilitator for special education and our school psychologist. We're going to be looking at this and really drill down into who are the students that are in the red and what are the steps that we are taking to address that so that they are feeling a little bit more welcome. In addition to that, one of the things that we do in the building that has always been important to me is team building and culture building, both as adults and then as a community throughout the school. And last week, our school engaged in a week-long kindness challenge with an ongoing mystery narrative that students and teachers and homerooms engaged in. Mrs. Wolfenden, the world's greatest secretary who goes along with everything that I ask her to do, filmed a series of videos that were showed at the beginning of each day, in which she received a letter from a mysterious person representing a group known as the Wishing Well Group that has been existing in East Long Meadow for 50 years. And they grant wishes to students who demonstrate kindness and community and cleverness. But, however, there was a problem because there was rumors that the Wishing Well Group was going to leave East Long Meadow and go to the Midwest, and we can't have that happen. So it was up to us at Maple Shade Elementary School to engage in a series of puzzles and challenges all around kindness that were given to the school through these mysterious letters that were then read by Mrs. Wolfenden. And if we were able to show just how much of a school that believed in community and kindness and cleverness, that the Wishing Well Group would stay in East Long Meadow. One of the challenges was about dreaming ahead in their lives about what they wanted to be when they grew up. What their wish was to be, when they grew up, and the steps that the Wishing Well Group could take in order to help them achieve their dreams. Okay. So all of the students filled out these sheets, submitted to the teachers. The teachers then, submitted it to the main office. Storyline purposes, Mrs. Wolfenden then submitted it at a drop point for the Wishing Well Group to pick up. But in truth, and for any parents who are watching at home, don't tell your children. This is all supposed to be secret. So the Principals Advisory Council and myself, we went through all of the slips. We looked at them and we looked at the ones that we would be able to grant. And so I'm working with the PTO. I'm working with a number of local businesses like Pete's Sweets, some hair salons, the Majestic Theater, to see what they can do about making some dreams come alive of children who are aspiring to be bakers or hairstylists or actors. All of the students, not all the students, I'm sorry, over this week, about 60 letters are going to go out to the homes of students whose wishes are going to be somewhat granted by the Wishing Well Group. And so that's going to, continue to have that build. But the reason I bring all of this up, Carrie, is because I was able to cross-reference with the data that was presented to us within this survey. So for some of the students who self-reported more negatively across the board based on their Wishing Well slips, I was able to a couple wishes there. And so looking at that, we're going to, allow, your more traditional next steps of, guidance counselors and adjustment counselors and small groups. But we're also going to try to rope them in and, like I said, give them platforms to feel seen and supported. And then in terms of teaching and learning, so here are goals for this year. And these are the goals that are in comparison to the goals that we had set forth last year and the results that we achieved last year. So 70% of our students will reach typical growth in iReady reading. Last year, if you remember, the goal was 65%. By the time the year concluded, Maple Shade Elementary School achieved 71% typical growth. 40% of students will reach stretch growth in iReady reading. Again, last year, the stretch growth was 35%. Maple Shade achieved 36% in stretch growth. For math, 65% of students will reach typical growth in iReady math. Last year was a 55% goal. Our school achieved 64%. 35% of students will reach stretch growth in iReady math. Last year was a 25% goal, and our students achieved 33%. So these current numbers, the 70%, 40%, 65, and 35 are lofty goals. But based on the results that we saw last year, I'm comfortable and confident in our students and our teachers in, if not achieving these goals, but coming close. And in order to, assist teachers in being able to get their kids to do this, there's action steps that we are employing. So the big one for this year is what we're calling Go Time, which stands for Growth and Opportunity. So over the last few years, the schedule for Maple Shade Elementary School has been jam-packed. And the focus has been in truly absorbing and understanding the curriculum that teachers are expected to implement. So we have been putting all our effort into the Fidelidus implementation of the Tiered 1 curriculum in ELA and math, but there hasn't been that separate time to allow for reteaching, for the data analysis piece of running, whether it be small group or just giving that whole group next step instruction based on data that we're seeing. And so this year, I'm happy to say that every grade level now has additional time, which we are calling Go Time, stands for Growth and Opportunity. And tomorrow I'm finishing up my beginning of the year meetings with each of the teachers in the building to just see what their goals are and what they want to work on this year. And, I have a series of questions. How is the year going? What are the successes so far? What are the challenges? How is the schedule? And how is Go Time? And it's been really great to see the use of Go Time and how the teachers are utilizing Go Time based on what they're seeing from the kids. And I want right now to allow this opportunity for the teachers to have the time to be able to utilize it to see fit based on, what the kids in front of them are asking for. So we have some teachers who are using it for fluency. We have some teachers that are using it for students who are a little bit further behind in ST Math. We have some teachers who are utilizing MyPath iReady in reading. We have some teachers who are utilizing it based on the exit tickets of either illustrative math or what they're seeing in the cool downs from Wit and Wisdom. We have teachers who are utilizing it as a time to really get into the writing, but it's a time so far that the teachers have stated that it is much needed, and they're happy to see it. So we'll be looking at data as the year goes on and how to utilize the data to really help drive that time. But for right now, it's that additional time to be able to give the teachers just extra time to meet the needs of the students.
How often and how long are those?
It's different per grade. So I can't tell you off the top of my head, but the first step was at least carving out time in the schedule to give them something that the kids could be able to utilize. So we all have Go Time now, and one of the goals this year of the building is to have more conversations around data now that we have time to be able to look at some instructional steps based on data. We're talking about data more. So all of our teachers, they have the MCAS data results from their homerooms from last year. They have the MCAS data results of the current combination of the students in their current homerooms. They have the iReady results from last year. They have their iReady results from this year. They have the flat out achievement levels of MCAS test in the building. And they have the projected proficiency data, which able to look at last year's projected proficiency, where the projected proficiency landed in regards to the actual proficiency of the MCAS test, and that allows for a conversation about how closely in the ballpark did we land, and the iReady projected proficiency for their current students. Which is just good food for thought as we continue to monitor Go Time. So we're having a lot of conversation around data along with ST Math. This morning, when I checked the ST Math numbers, which is our supplemental math program, we were at 19% completion. we're not scheduled to have 19% completion until the second week of November. So we're really chugging along with ST Math, which is great. It allows our students to be able to get that additional conceptual understanding of mathematical practices that they're able to then combine with their understanding of math that they're getting from illustrative math. And any students that are further behind, for instance, any student that is projected to not make 40%, we're able to talk about that with the teachers and get a better understanding of, are these students being pulled out for other services at that, are these students just not engaging well with the expectations of ST Math? And so at least having that understanding of who is doing well, who is struggling a little bit, and having that reason why they're struggling is important. And teaching with fidelity, the tier 1 instruction in ELA and math continue to be taught with fidelity. Every year that goes by, our teachers understand it a little bit more. They're able to plan with each other on grade level. Last year, very closely with Heather Brown. This year, with our coaches. And we're able to, with each year goes by, have a better understanding of what each module or each is asking in order to continually improve upon it, cut down on any redundancies, and just build off the successes that we are seeing.
On the projected proficiency levels, are you finding a correlation with the MCAS achievement scores? Is that
varies?
Yeah,
it varies. But at the very least, you have something to build off of and work towards. It's good to have.
Is it huge variance? Meaning, is the projected proficiency not accurate?
Not entirely accurate.
Yep.
As we'll get to, as a school, in ELA and in math, we exceeded the projected proficiency from last year. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if iReady isn't able to determine it, or if Maple Shade's that good. I don't know. What exactly that means.
Any thoughts on that?
iReady doesn't measure writing, and MCAS does, so that can often have an impact, as well as being able to explain the math is something that iReady will do through multiple choice, but not an open response kind of situation. So that's part of it too. I think
MCAS,
other skills that are assessed in the MCAS that aren't in iReady because it's a computer-based test.
But isn't the whole point, is MCAS measuring proficiency? Yes.
Supposed to be.
So shouldn't it correlate with projected proficiency?
Well, the projected proficiency on MCAS,
Yeah.
right? But the MCAS is measuring additional things that iReady doesn't measure. So they're projecting it based on the reading and math, but not writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm asking about the specific things that do correlate.
It should correlate.
Should correlate. Well, but it doesn't necessarily.
In some cases, at least with the aggregate, what we found was it was within 1 or 2 percentage points.
Okay.
In some cases. But when you break it down from the aggregate to grade level, you're going to see wider variance.
But that's all right.
Well, we're using it not to see so much how they're going to do on the MCAS. Obviously, we want them to do well on the MCAS, but it's also to kind of hone in on what they need right now. So it's more of an instructional tool. And it helps us because ultimately being able to be proficient on the MCAS shows that they're proficient with grade level skills. But it's nice to have the correlation, but we're really using iReady because we get that information right now as opposed to MCAS where you don't get it until the middle of the next year. Well, not the middle, but the beginning of the fall when you don't have those kids anymore.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so here is where we currently are with iReady reading, and you'll see these numbers again in a little bit in relation to where we had been previously and how we fall compared to Massachusetts and others. But this is reading. Next slide is math. Okay, again, you're going to see these numbers again in a second. Okay, so this has been the 3 year, the 3 years worth of iReady fall data. So as you can see, we pretty much match where we were last year in terms of the green. So we have about the same amount of students at mid or above or early on grade level, which is great. You'll see that we have a higher percentage of students who are 2 or grade levels below or 3 or more grade levels below. Now, one thing that I want to point out are these 2 bullets on the side. I included this information because even though we have a higher percentage of students 2 or 3 grade levels below, last year in the spring diagnostic, we saw that 76% of our students who in the fall had been 2 or grade levels below were able to move their placement, and 73% of students who were 3 or more grade levels below improved their placement. So
2 on grade level or just one grade level below?
I believe it's just to that next
At least one, okay.
I believe. But so we might have a higher percentage of students who are in the red, but we have done well with the students who are in the red. And now we have that additional time with Go to be able to target them a little bit more. Here is where we stand compared to Mass, the national year to date, and the national norms with iReady. So Maple Shade has a higher percentage than the Massachusetts national year to date and the national norm. And for mathematics, this is great to see. You can see the increase in grade level or above over the 3 years, which is wonderful. As well, you see a decrease in the red. So that's wonderful. It's wonderful, and it means that we're doing it. That's exactly what we want to see. So similarly to reading, last year in the spring, we had 89% of students who were 2 or more grades below. They were able to improve their placement, and 63% of students who were 3 or more grade levels below. So I think that's important to be able to look at the trends of the data over the years, sort of prognosticate where they're going to fall. And then here's where we stand compared to others. We have a higher percentage of students mid or above grade level than Mass, national year to date or the national norm, and a lower percentage than Massachusetts, the national year to date or the national norm. So these are great. I mean, it's a great way to start off the year. You know, it's coming from a very, very positive place, still with a lot of opportunity for growth. In terms of DESE and pointage from the accountability, I'm not going to go row by row on achievement growth or additional indicators. But you have this chart. You have a series of other charts coming up. But I just want everyone to know that this is what we're looking at now. We're looking at the data from the accountability provided by DESE, and I'll contextualize that in a bit. We can move on to the next slide. Okay, here is the accountability in regards to our achievement and the points awarded to each of the different demographics on each of the 3 assessed content areas of each, and math and science. Again, I'm going to get into this in a bit, but if you wanted to go into further detail and go row by row, you should have that information. Okay. Here is our growth slides and the points awarded for the growth of each of the demographics, which again, I will get into in a minute, but if you want to just look at the raw numbers, you have them there. And then here is the big takeaways from all the information that you just saw. So if you remember last year at this time, Maple Shade was recognized by the Department of Education as a school of recognition, which it's great. We're very proud of all of the work. However, I was not expecting this year to begin with another recognition of that level because only 3% Commonwealth were designated that level of recognition. So, based on the points and the weighted points, we did not meet the same numbers of pointage from last year. However, if you were to compare the points from 2 years ago, prior to us being a school of recognition, we still saw a 20-point increase, which shows that we're still moving in the right direction. This year, we have 75%. We are recognized as being 75% meeting or exceeding targets. And that's significant because not only is that an improvement from last year's 69%, we've also changed that designation. Last year, we were substantially progressing towards targets. This year, we're being recognized as just flat out meeting or exceeding targets. Last year, we were in the 55th percentile. This year, we're in the 60th percentile, and that's overall as a school. Within ELA, some takeaways from ELA, our lowest performing students exceeded their target. All of our students demonstrated high typical growth. Lowest performing students demonstrated high typical growth. Our high needs students demonstrated high typical growth, and that's something that I was looking at last year to continue to maintain. Our students with disabilities demonstrated growth. It wasn't high growth, it was low growth, but the growth was still there. Our Hispanic and Latino population demonstrated high growth, and our white students demonstrated high growth as well on the ELA test. And then for math, our lowest performing students exceeded their targets. All students improved. They came below the target that was provided to them, but they still improved. White students met target. All students demonstrated high growth. Lowest performing students demonstrated high growth. High needs students demonstrated high growth. Low income students demonstrated high growth. Students with disabilities demonstrated growth. It was low, but they still demonstrated growth. Hispanic or Latino students demonstrated high growth, as well as white students. So those are all of the large positive takeaways from the different demographics in math and ELA. And then in terms of just flat out achievement celebrations, how well the school did just in terms of numbers, we surpassed the state achievement levels in ELA. We surpassed the state achievement levels in math, surpassed the state achievement levels in science. And as I stated earlier, we surpassed our own projected proficiency target that was given to us by iReady at the beginning of last year. So then that's the teaching and learning. You all know that we can't get anywhere in teaching and learning if we aren't able to teach the students themselves. So we're going to continue to look at the survey results throughout the course of this year. And we're going to shoot for these numbers that we see here, as well as additional screeners that I'll talk about in a second. But we want our students to feel recognized, seen, safe, and happy. All right, so here are some pie charts that I'm going to be looking at. As I stated, we're going to be going over these results first with my guidance counselor, my adjustment counselor, who teach our social emotional classes. I'll just talk about it now. So one of the action steps that we are utilizing this year is a new social emotional curriculum called Wayfinder. Myself, my guidance counselor, my social or my school adjustment counselor, and Mountain View Eyes school psychologist all have been trained on Wayfinder so that we have a better understanding of it. So this curriculum is deployed for each homeroom once a week. The curriculum itself is engaging. In addition to that, there are a number of resources for our school psychologist, our adjustment counselor, and our guidance counselor to be able to utilize to help our students in small groups, in one-to-one settings, as well. So we're utilizing Wayfinder. We're also utilizing some screeners within Wayfinder called Waypoints, which very quickly assess how students are self-reporting on the different competencies. And I will be meeting with our school adjustment counselor and our guidance counselor to be able to look at a scope and sequence of what that's going to look like throughout the course of the year and when we can fit in time to be able to tailor the social emotional lessons to meet the needs by grade level based on the results of these surveys. And then look at the specific students and what they have stated. So for the students who are really crying out for help, what can we do for them? And then just we'll continue to employ the building level action steps in order to make sure that everyone feels included. So we have a number of clubs and affinity groups that students can be a part of, including art club, drama club, rainbow lunch bunch. We have a new book club that we've never had before. It launched today. Everyone's very excited about it. We have chorus and our BIPOC group. So we have a number of different opportunities for our students to be able to join, to feel seen, and to be able to explore their interests. A school is just a building unless there is a relationship with home as well. I'm a firm believer in forming relationships as much as possible with parents, and that means a number of different community-based activities. We've had our fall field day, which was a great success. It was a beautiful day for that. We'll have our color run at the end of the year. We had a great book fair and pizza night last week. We'll have our learning carnival. We'll have our musical performances throughout the course of the year, the drama production at the end of the year. And if the weather holds out, we'll have our family movie night and art show. Talked about the Wayfinder social emotional curriculum. This year, the student support team has presented to the rest of the staff about a revision to the ACT process. That includes a pre-ACT process that gets more support people on a student earlier in the process to really see exactly what the student is struggling with, to get some just eyes on the student and get some suggestions, to be able to track some data, to come back to the table, to include some more supports. So we've gone through that. And then every day the kids, they hear me remind them that at Maple Shade, we are made in the shade. We strive to be hardworking, actively engaged, determined to succeed, and empathetic in all that we do. So all of the decisions that are made in the school are made to fall under those headings. And I've asked teachers to share with me the students that have been caught demonstrating some quality of being made in the shade. And I'm trying to be as specific as possible so that these students can help me out on the morning announcements, and I'm able to shout them out with the reason why they're helping me out in order to model that behavior that they have exemplified, that they can then show to the rest of the school what it means to be hardworking, what it means to be empathetic, how they were patient with someone that was learning something during, PE, or if they were, if they're constantly raising their hand and asking questions. So it's one thing for me to say, I want everyone to be hardworking. It's another thing for me able to stand next to a student who has been shouted out by their teacher for a specific reason of them being hardworking, and me being able to show them off to the school as an example for other students to live by. And we'll continue to once a month have our academic adventuring awards, where we celebrate students who have demonstrated productive struggle and a growth mindset, who have been courageous in their own learning, and those moments when the learning might be challenging, they're not giving up, they're finding new ways to tackle the problem, and they're finding the adventure in their own education.
Great. Questions? Everybody's good?
All right, thank you, everyone.
I appreciate it.
Next up, we have Longview and Ms. Santinella.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Everyone needs a stretch. Go ahead. I'm going to start my presentation with supporting the whole child. Mountain View always centers on fostering a safe, inclusive, and joyful learning environment. We try to ensure that students feel valued and connected. And we also aim to sustain our daily attendance rate of 95% or higher to reduce chronic absenteeism. We will do this by communicating with the students and families to emphasize the importance of school attendance, and by working with both Chandria McCoy, our coordinator of METCO Student Belonging and Family Engagement, and our family care coordinator to remove barriers that impact regular attendance. Chandria has been at Mountain View several times already this year to meet with our counselors and students, both in the METCO program and out of the METCO program. So it's been great to have her. I also know her. Didn't realize it till we met the first time that when my first teaching job was at Sacred Heart. And at the time I was teaching 4th grade and she was in 8th grade across the hall.
She was in 8th grade.
He was in 8th grade,
Student.
a student,
Not the-
just that, yes,
Yeah.
thanks.
There.
She was not a teacher. Another part of this goal is to have 90% or more students reporting a strong sense of belonging on surveys. So on the next slide, you'll see our accountability data. We exceeded the target for students with a rate of 4.5%. That's for all students. And our current average daily attendance is 98.4%. That was as of last Thursday. Last year, this time we were at 97.2%. We have always met the 95% and above, usually by a few points. So I'm confident that we will be able to continue that throughout the year. On the survey data on the next slide.
You have like 4 kids out in a day out of the 259?
More than 4. I'll be honest, I've had quite a few vacations already this year. The week of Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day was a doozy. We had a few families with multiple students. In Disney, I know for some, but yeah, it's whenever there's a long weekend or even a half day thrown in, that's when I definitely see the dips. So it is what it is.
Yep.
We do what we can. With these scores on our survey, I think it shows that the kids like to be here when they're not at Disney. So 94% currently are happy being at Mountain View. These are just the questions that fit with the belonging part of the first goal. I'll go into the other data during the last goal. I feel welcome at my school, 95%, and I can be myself at school at 90%. That's a new question this year. I did ask the teachers for this first survey to read the questions with their students as we went through, because every year I've noticed, on certain questions that kids might not understand if they had an adult to explain it while they were taking it, at least the first time. Bullying is often one that gets a really high percentage. Oh yeah, everyone's been bullied, when they don't always understand the definition. So it was very clearly explained in the survey. And I wanted them to just be able to ask questions as they were taking it if they weren't clear. I can be myself. As I was sitting here watching everyone else's presentations, I thought I probably should have explained that more in the question, especially with our 3rd graders. So we'll see how it goes for the rest of the year, but make sure I got everything there. Okay. Next one, teaching and learning. So we are focusing on academic achievement with this goal. And by supporting teachers in implementing the high quality instructional materials, universal design for learning, and culturally sustaining pedagogy, we aim for student growth in reading and math. Our goal this year is for 70% of students to reach typical growth in iReady reading. Last year, our goal was 65 and we had 67% of students achieve that. So we have bumped it up to 70. In math, we had, stretch growth. 40% this year is our goal. Last year was 35. We had 43%. I was a little surprised by that big jump, to be honest. So that's why I went a little bit conservative with the goal of 40 instead of jumping, even higher. If we meet it or pass it, great. But I was a little conservative on the goal. In math, we'd like 65% of students to reach typical growth. Last year, our goal was 55 and 64% reached it. And for stretch growth, our goal is 35. Last year's goal was 25 and we had 32% reach stretch growth. So this is our current standing with iReady reading. It shows that 38% of students are currently at or above grade level. Last year at this time, 33% of students were at or above grade level. Since this is the first diagnostic, I obviously can't give you any growth data. But if you look at our growth data from last year, when we surpassed the reading goal, I feel like it's attainable. The current goals we have will be attainable for. Okay, math. This slide shows our current data. We have 34% of students currently at or above grade level. Last year at this time, we had 31% of students at this point. So again, with our goals, I feel that the goals we have for this year will be attainable based on this data. Okay, so I did something a little different with my graph, and I know it looks a little confusing. So we were able to get and I used the data from the end of last year, just like I used for MCAS further on in the presentation. The bar graphs that we had that Gordon shared with us were the district. And so that lumps Maple Shade and Mountain View together. It doesn't give us the individual data. So what I did was take the bar graph for the national norm that you saw on other slides earlier tonight, but in blue to the right is what Mountain View scored. So if you look at the data, it shows that we outperformed the national norms in every area, with higher percentages of students meeting or exceeding expectations in the green and light green, in all grades, but especially in grade 5, where we had 52% of our students in the top 2 categories compared to 27% of students nationally.
So this is the end of the year last year?
Yes. A similar pattern appears in reading. Mountain View shows higher percentages of students in the meeting and exceeding categories across the grades, and grade 5 with 42% meeting or exceeding versus 29 in the comparison group. So these are the national norms. It would have been too much for me to get all the bar graphs and all the different data for us on one. So I used last year's. But what I will be able to do in the mid-cycle or the end of the year is show the current data for this year. So in both subjects, Mountain View has fewer students below proficiency and more in the higher levels. Of course, we always want to improve and see more students performing at the meeting or exceeding levels, but it is nice to see the comparison of us versus nationally. Okay, next is accountability, my favorite. So this is all of our data, achievement, growth, and attendance. And on this slide, you'll see that our total achievement actually dropped from last year, unfortunately. But the lowest performing students group, which I don't really like that term, but the lowest performing students group, achievement rose, especially in ELA. And both groups, the all students and the lowest performing students group, improved in the growth area. Our overall improvement in the state's target percentage from last year was 52, went from 52 to 56. And this was actually driven by the lowest performing students, who earned 82% of the possible points, last year. Now we have our progress toward improvement targets, right? Nope, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing on my paper. This is ELA. Okay. The all students group achievement increased, but we did not meet the state's target. For the lowest performing group, we exceeded the target, and our students with disabilities and our Latino students met the target. That's for ELA. Math is on the next slide. All students group achievement declined by almost 2 points. We didn't make the target. The lowest performing students group was the only group to meet the math target last year. I can't tell you why. We grew on iReady. I can't explain why it went down. I do have a little interesting tidbit I found on the next slide though for science. So science achievement, we had an overall decline in everything. So I went to look back because last year we exceeded the target, like by a massive amount of points. So I wanted to see how that would be possible, that we would grow so much one year and drop so much the next. So in 2022, we had a score of 505.6. The following year, we dropped to 496.4. In 2023, I'm sorry, that's when we dropped into 2023. In 2024, we gained by 12.3 to 508.7. And then this year, we dropped again to 499.1. So we lost 9.6 points. I can't figure out why we were up, down, literally every other year when the curriculum has been the same. The teachers have been the same. Obviously, the students are different, tested every year, but it just seems very strange to me that we have these huge gains and then huge losses every other year with just this one particular subject. So then, of course, I would love to have us be able to see what standards, are they changing the standards every year that they're testing? How much are the questions changing? But they don't release any questions anymore. So they give you a practice test instead. And when you click on, even if you go in the chart where it looks like it's a hyperlink to a question, it's a practice test for the question. So we can't even see.
Or this question wasn't released and you're like,
Exactly.
hyperlink.
Exactly. So I'm just putting it out there. It just seems very odd to me that there's these huge drops and then rises every other year. But I of course can't explain it because I can't see what standards were tested. Did they focus more on one standard one year than they did another? We know they always do that, but we used to describe it a long time ago as whack-a-mole, like math test. One year you'd see all these questions on geometry and we didn't do so well. So the next year we really hit geometry hard and then they didn't ask as many questions on geometry the following year.
It's really less than a 2% drop though, right? And so
It just feels like
be the cohort.
a lot, like it feels like, oh, path forward declined.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the terminology is harsh.
Feel like you're getting,
Go down 0.4 point,
I know, but it's just,
But to the point you're making, cohorts obviously make a difference.
For 2%, the
That's
cohort,
the
you
biggest
think might
variable
make the
there.
difference. Yeah.
seems like the person, I guess because the target's always moving.
Yeah.
That you can't You think you're doing really, last year I was so happy about the science and then, this year it's,
So our target will go down next year because of the 499
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it does go
and
down.
how we made it the 90.
Yeah, so it'll be that increase based on what we got this year.
But the target for this year isn't gonna go down. They're not gonna say my target.
Is below 511. But didn't you on that, and didn't you 2 years ago go down? Because we went down so far, your target was readjusted and then we went up 12.
I don't,
Remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head if the target readjusted. I feel like the target stays.
Increases.
They used 2022, I believe, as the baseline year. They readjusted all targets of that in terms of the baseline coming out of COVID. And they usually adjust from there in terms of their targets. It's rare that they'll go down.
No, I'm not saying the target would go down, but I don't think,
Right. They're not going to, I don't think
they're not gonna say now that.
99.
Right.
Yeah.
That I went down, they're not gonna say my target.
Right.
They're not going to decrease your target.
Yeah.
I'm only going to speak for myself, but I am not at all hyper-focused on the MCAS.
Thank you. I'm not here.
Not even actually a little bit. I am speaking only, not on behalf of the committee, but I don't think it in any way measures student learning in an authentic manner. So while it's nice to have data, I definitely feel that the more critical data is found in the iReady and other.
Completely agree.
Hence, the MCAS doesn't even, I think it's a bunch of.
Go ahead, say it.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Oh, she said
I'm not
it.
going to say it. I'm on the record.
I agree.
Everything else, it measures stamina too.
I mean, I have kids,
Yeah.
I mean, you're asking eight-year-olds to sit through a test that has
Absolutely.
very long passages.
And despite the work that's been done on reforming some of the ways that we are wording questions, et cetera, we know that it's not an equitable way to assess students in many ways. So thank you for sharing the context for that. But at least for me, speaking as one committee member, I'm not focused on that at all.
I go around every year and give a little pep talk because there's kids that get very nervous about it. And all I say is, I just want you to try your best.
That's it.
And do your best. That's it. I don't make it a big deal. I did make it a big deal a very long time ago when it first came out and when I was working in Springfield, but I don't anymore. I see the tears. I see the stress.
Yeah.
They're 8, 9, and 10 years old. And some of them sit in front of that computer because they are technically untimed. We have kids that will sit in front of that computer from when we start at 8:30 until the bell's going to ring at 2:25. And that to me is
Unconscionable. And now that we know as well, it's changing at the secondary level and the way that students are even approaching it at the secondary level, we know is changing.
It was last
I don't even know what this is going to look like in a year or 5 years. So hopefully different, but
yes. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that because that's how I feel too. Okay. So one more chart. This is the growth for all students and for lowest performing students. Our typical growth was high. It was also high for our Latino students and white students in ELA. And in math, typical growth was high for all students, but low for everyone else. The white student category is simply because the majority of our students are white. So when it's the all students category, you're going to see the same numbers pretty much. And my last slide, which is my favorite slide, because I feel students aren't going to perform well on anything if they don't feel like they belong and are happy to be at school every day. So we will continue to strengthen our school culture by promoting inclusivity, belonging, and mutual respect among students, staff, and families. Our goal is for 95% of students to report feeling happy, safe, respected, and treated fairly, with all students having at least one trusted adult at school. The metrics I'm using just for these bullets represent 5 questions that are universal on all of the surveys, the students, the staff, and the families. The reason you're seeing 6 graphs is because 2 of the questions talk about respect. So, in the first one, sorry, did I print them? I hope I did. Yes, I did. Okay. I feel safe at my school. I can't even see that number. Sorry. I thought it would be a
95.
little bit bigger on the screen. And then count of the staff that at my school treat students respectfully. I'm including the red and the blue together because sometimes we did make that question always, sometimes never, or rarely. So the red is sometimes. I don't expect all students to feel that they're being treated respectfully, even if they are. Or when there's a middle category, they always seem to try to a lot of kids pick the middle answer. The students one, bigger red area for obvious reasons. We're talking about them with each other, and they don't always treat each other respectfully. So that's that graph. So happy was 94%. That was in the first school, sorry. When I feel like my schoolwork is too hard, I keep trying. I thought that was a great response rate for that question. I have at least one adult at school I can talk to. Also, a very small percentage of students don't feel that way, but of course we're waiting for the survey data to be able to be uploaded into Open Architects because right now, when you look at it, it's an Excel spreadsheet. So you have to scroll all the way over to see which kid might have said that and then go back scrolling over. So once it's in there, we'll be able to sit down as an MTSS team and look at which kids we need to support that maybe feel they don't have an adult they can count on. Or, why they aren't happy or why those questions had high percentages. So it would only be a few students. Some of the things we will continue doing this year to make sure that our students, parents, and families feel that they are supported and included. We still have our Friday dance party. I did get a knock from a 3rd grader this year, the week that I played I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. I have never gotten that feedback from an 8-year-old before, but that was 280s.
280.
So I am trying to play some newer stuff, but it's hard to find newer, appropriate songs. So it's a struggle. We did participate and start with Hello Week again this year, which is part of the Sandy Hook Thomas organization, and had a great week. I had less complaints about Mix It Up lunch, which is where I make them sit with people. They take a random number and get assigned to a table, so they're not with who they want to be with.
Loud.
It's louder.
Oh yeah.
It's louder because I think once they adjust to sitting with people they don't know necessarily, they get excited and start talking about things that definitely was louder that.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not great.
Well, no, and great for them, not great for me
There it is.
and Mr. Potter, but it was great. Spirit Squad kicked off last week with Wear Pink, and we donated money to Rays of Hope. And we will be implementing the Wayfinder curriculum. We have 2 after-school programs going right now, chorus and chess. Chess is a huge one. We have 70 kids up to play chess across all 3 grade levels. It is our counselor from River Valley who runs it. She belongs to like the World Chess.
Wow.
I don't even know how to play chess, so I couldn't tell you anything about it, but she and her daughter and parent volunteers help. But we also have kids coming back from Birchland who were the original kids who wanted to start the chess club with Miss Danielle. They asked if they could come after school to help the kids, so that's great. Chorus also has a crazy number and Mr. Schneider does it all by himself. They're doing songs from the 50s last week, which was really fun to listen to after school. I would say he has 60 at least, chorus.
That's after school?
That's after school, yep.
And the chess is after school?
Chess is also after school.
The kids actually play a full game of chess.
I don't know. I do know.
Yeah.
I do know that they really know what they're doing.
Okay.
Danielle has a chessboard set up outside of her office with like a clue or like, can you make this move with these pieces? So it's just a chessboard with a couple pieces and they stop at it on their way in the morning to figure it out. We have kids that ask if they can take a chessboard outside at recess because we have the picnic tables. I don't know if you remember from last year, from Nick Rivera, made it for his Eagle Scout badge. So we have 2 really nice picnic tables. So they like to sit out there and play chess. Not everyone's into kickball and basketball, so it's fine.
Great.
Yeah. So they did compete last year. We had a traveling group. It was the parents were responsible. It was on a weekend. But they were invited because Danielle isn't part of these chess groups that they got to compete against kids from other parts of the state. So
very cool.
Yeah. That's it. Try to be as quick as I could.
Mission accomplished. Any other questions, comments?
Okay, thank you.
Renee and Kate, how's the grass at the playscape? Coming in? Yeah? Do you know if kids are using it off hours?
Yeah, definitely.
Great, awesome. Thank you. Good to hear. Okay. Thank you, team, for being here tonight.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, finally. Point 2, finalizing superintendent 2024-25 evaluation, self-assessment date.
Okay, so in your packets, I took last year's self-assessment. Was based off of what we had accomplished last year up through June. And I just updated it based on our presentation at the last school committee meeting, as well as our accountability information that was released from the state this fall. I won't read every bullet point for you. I'm sure you're able to do that. But we were excited about a number of things, just a few highlights. We were excited that we exceeded chronic absenteeism target for both non-high school and high school. Also, as you can hear, the excitement outside, hitting those numbers, we were excited with how many areas we saw high growth in the accountability system. That was nice to see, particularly the achievement of, certainly none of us are fond of the name, but our lowest performing students really did excel last year. And we think it's due to a lot of the care and support systems that we try to put in place throughout the year. 2 construction projects were going on last year. One you know a lot about, which is right behind us. One we're trying to move toward construction, and we were basically working on schematic design, and that's the roof project. That's also an MSBA project at Maple Shade. So the big pieces last year were bringing on owner project manager, and that's Colliers Incorporated, and a design team, and that's Habib and Associates. And this fall, we're working towards completing the schematic design. No real change in terms of the self-assessment, in terms of where were achieved or not achieved. We achieved, as you heard from our schools and saw last year, and then some of this fall, we achieved a number of our goals. We didn't achieve in terms of teaching and learning, and so that's still partially achieved. In the individual areas around the construction projects, we are on target there, and we were able to achieve what we had hoped to achieve at the end of last year. Happy to answer questions or.
What is the partnership with AIC for the model classroom? What does that mean?
So thankfully, we have an individual over there that used to be a principal over here. And so we've always had a connection with AIC because we have a number of folks who do different things, whether they're overseeing some of the student teaching or placement of interns and so forth. But we've grown stronger in that partnership due to Tim Allen being over there as a professor. And he asked us to look at setting up and utilizing model classrooms at our elementary and middle school. And so we've done that for the last 2 years.
You got the modulars too that you're working on too.
Yeah, that's going to be in this year's plan.
Okay.
So that's- Friday was all about construction. There were 3 construction meetings that are dealing with larger challenges in terms of making progress forward. We were able to accomplish and get to some compromises so that we can continue forward.
On the modular specifically?
Modulars was a big one. Yeah, specifically.
There were issues, major issues?
Not anymore.
Oh, good.
Friday we achieved.
I like to hear it, Gordon.
It's sometimes it's bringing everybody together and actually standing there in the parking lot and mapping it out. So that's Sentinel and I did that on Friday with both the main contractor and the subcontractor who will be putting in a new water line because the modulars will have a system. However, the original plan was to dig up the parking lot and over a 2-week period while school was in session, disrupt Carline, not have Carline for 2 weeks. And I said, that's really not a non-starter.
Yeah, everybody has to walk to school.
Exactly. So we worked it out.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I think it feels better about the compromise. There will be some detours and some cones and some metal plating, but we can work it out.
Excellent. Great.
Gordon, I think you underrated yourself in several of these categories, but
You're
speak
very
to
kind.
to you. So
Yeah. And as every year, Gordon, lots accomplished.
Mhm.
One more year.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot to do still. So.
That's a lot to do. Make sure I hand off something that is well oiled and people are excited. I think we have a lot of excitement and a lot of achievement in the district, but last year, as we know, with the budget was a challenging year.
$13 million free cash certification. 13 million.
Just saw that.
13 plus.
I know.
Exciting, something to look for. Gives me hope.
Over taxation.
That part's not as exciting.
Mhm.
I'm just talking about making
I know.
sure we
Have a pretty, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on the superintendent?
Not specific to that report, but I was,
Sure.
because they both spoke about Wayfinder curriculum. Is that being implemented all the way through?
No, right now it's being utilized at the 2, 3 through 5 schools. But if we have success, that is something that we might, we're finding the second step was too simplistic and didn't go in depth enough. And so they were looking for something that was going to take them now after a series of years where we've used second step further. So it is something that we can, if we continue to have success and people like it, and start to move it.
Yeah. I was just, it'll be interesting to see how that affects like 6, 7, middle school stuff. Like if you start to see any change, how they respond to some of that.
True. With the middle school over the last few years is they use, they actually, this was back when Tim Allen and Connor were at the middle school. They started to draft lesson plans for their Thursday advisory, which is their longer advisory. And that's where they do a lot of their SEL. And so they took it to sort of a more homegrown approach, using some of the things that they had learned over time, using Castle as a resource and so forth. And so they continue to expand on that now that Steve and Natalie are at the helm. But you're right, it's a different different time.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time. If you ever get a chance, you have to really enjoy teaching those ages. I did it for 9 years, so.
Yeah, I stayed on the other end of the through 12 accredited.
Not sure I can still get up from the reading rug fast enough to do the younger grades.
Any other questions, comments? I'd take someone to move to the summative assessment. Motion made by William. Second by Amy, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0. Excellent. Gordon?
We will report out this is part of the state reporting, so they just have to know where the standards sit.
Okay. If we have nothing else, thank you, Caitlin, for being here tonight.
Absolutely.
Jamie, thank you for recording and being here tonight. And I would entertain someone to move to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Made by Amy. Second by William. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0. Thank you. We are adjourned.